wondering when you see people demonstrating in the streets right now, what do you think?
Wow, I think it's amazing. I'm energized watching them do it. I wish I wasn't in this high risk area of COVID, or I would be out there with them, joining in, or if I had the energy to be out there. But I love the way it looks. It's a very different view from the one I had in the 60s and 70s. The faces are of all ethnicities. The youth and the energy feels the same, and in my mind, it feels like change is about to happen. It's one of those kind of things where, the birth of change or birth has labor. Now we're starting the labor pains of this change that's about to happen. It's almost like the murders that took place that got all these young people into the streets was the water breaking on, okay, that's enough, the pressure. The water broke, now we're in labor. So let's see what we can do, or what the result of this labor will be.
It's so interesting because in 68, 69, the way you were involved in the movement for justice, the movement for equality, there was an older generation of Black Americans who at one point, even at Morehouse, I think some of the Board of Trustees, you took part in what was called a lock-in, which essentially is you locked them in a room because they weren't willing to listen to what you and others at the campus believed in. I'm just wondering, generationally, how you saw things then, how you see things now. You really believe change can happen?
Yes, I do. I know it's not going to be immediate, and that's one of the things that the young people who are out there will have to understand, the level of patience that it's going to take, that it will be a few years. But that's a result of identifying the people that have your like idea, that understand what everyone out there is asking for, what is the ask, and how to get those people in there. Now, it seems like an old fogey notion, or they feel that way, that we keep talking about voting and what that all means. But, it takes a time, it takes a minute to understand what a revolutionary idea of voting is and what it means, and how you get the right people in there to express what you want, so that you can get the right mayor who hires the right DA, who hires the right chief of police, who adheres to all the things that the people want. That's the difficulty of explaining patience to young people.
Do you think the Samuel L. Jackson in the summer of 1969, hearing somebody talk about patience, would have the same sort of way of seeing it as you see it now?
No, I had the same, burn it down right now, let's, blow the whole thing up and start over again ideal that they have. And, there is a level of blowing up that needs to happen, always. So that's not, an unreasonable thing to ask for in a specific revolutionary way, because that's how things work. There are institutions that need to be blown up, that have not been blown up since the inception of captured people coming to this country. Here I am, almost 72 years old, and I hear the same things, or I look at the things that go on around me and say, well, okay, well, that hadn't changed. The big change now is, technology, the internet, and all those other things, because people have been mistreated by the law enforcement establishment of this country since they brought us here, and even more so when we were freed and they unleashed the patty rollers, or people to keep Black people in line in a specific sort of way. And those, the use of that power has been excised against us more than it has the other, the dominant culture of this country. And that's not, an exaggeration or an untruth. It's just what has happened, and we witnessed it. We've been warned against it. I mean, the same things that people have to tell their kids about leaving home and being careful and hoping that their, boys and girls come back home are the same things that they told me when I was a child. Things I learned when I was, 3 and 4 years old, leaving home with my grandfather, how to look at the dominant culture and not to engage them, in a specific kind of way, because it was dangerous and possibly lethal for that to happen. And understanding who the police were and what their jobs really were when they came into my community, even the black policemen that we had, I think we had 2 when I was growing up in Chattanooga, that most of the people that I knew that encountered them did not have pleasant encounters with them, because it was their job to keep us in line in a specific way. So that's always been the case. I mean, one of my favorite, or the favorite saying I had when I was a young revolutionary was the H. Rap Brown statement, at a certain point, caution becomes cowardice. No slave should die a natural death. But you also have to understand that, there are times when you're not being a coward. All you're doing is making sure that you survive a specific situation and how it has to be done. And it can be difficult. People don't give you that option a lot these days. When you see the videos of how police interact with people of color, you see that they don't give you that option a lot of times.
I just want to be clear, because I think maybe some people who, read this interview in print will hear you say something should be blown up. I know what you mean, but you're speaking metaphorically about just the kind of systematic change that really needs to take place, not just in police, but in the education system.
I'm not talking about planting a bomb.
No,
I am.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not talking about planting a bomb somewhere and blowing up an institution. I'm talking about blowing up the rhetoric around a specific institution and how it functions, making sure that everything changes in the way that particular thing is applied to everyone across the board.
It's really fascinating talking to you, and you not only have an extraordinary career now, but you've had an extraordinary life and a life of involvement, and I appreciate talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I hope everyone out there is being as safe as they can possibly be, and don't forget there is a pandemic even in the midst of all this. And thank you all that are paying attention and now understand that, Black lives matter. We're not saying they matter more, we're just saying they matter.
Samuel L. Jackson. Up next, remember the president's claim he was only inspecting the White House bunker and wasn't rushed to it by the Secret Service for his own safety? Well, today his own attorney general did not tell that story. Instead, he seems to have told the truth, actually. Details next.